Welcome to Women and the Businesses They Own, where we highlight the stories of women who are building, creating, and leading with a purpose. I'm your host, Sherry Hooper. Each episode, I sit down with women who have turned their passions into thriving businesses, women who inspire through their work, their resilience, and their stories. Today, I'm excited to welcome Holly Young, an IT professional and business owner whose mission is to help seniors feel confident and connected through technology. Holly teaches technology skills in her community and works one-on-one with clients, guiding them through everything from basic computer skills to navigating new apps and devices. Her work isn't just about technology, it's about empowerment, patience, and bridging generations through understanding. I hung on to the patience part. I'm sure with what you do, there's a lot of it. So welcome, Holly. It's nice to have you with us today.
Thanks, Sherry.
So the first thing I'd like to do is just to be able to tell all of our listeners a little bit more about yourself, both personally and professionally. And don't leave anything out. We want all the gory details.
Well, first of all, I forgot to turn my phone off, so it's beeping at me. Which I'm not supposed to do, right? I'm supposed to know better than this. So, I am a mom and a wife, and I have two grown children, two sons. One is 29, and the other and the other's 31. So he just had a birthday. So keeping track of all that. Um, I have been doing computer stuff for many, many years. I never really set out to have a business, but things just kind of came about on their own. Um, so here I am. This is what I do, and I absolutely love it. I love to help people, and I love technology. So putting those two things together is just that's my happy place. So it's good.
Well, so you said you're married. What is your husband's name?
My husband's name is Pat.
Pat. And then your two boys, did either one of them go into anything related to IT in any way?
Not really. You would have thought that some of it would have rubbed off, but
We always
they
hope.
love using technology. They like gaming and using computers and stuff like that. But in terms of the fixing and the helping and that kind of stuff, that's not really their thing. So
Okay, because I still, even this morning, my husband said, "Man, I don't get it. Our son they just get this stuff, right? Because if you can't send a picture this way, they're like, I'll just do it this way and it'll be better and whatever." So do you have those moments? Your sons can't outdo you in IT, I hope.
um, it depends. What they do for me is they help me keep current with the current stuff.
Oh, yeah.
So, things that are new, like I will say, "Hey, do you know what this is?" Because sometimes I would rather ask them instead of Googling it. You know, I can always Google it, but that doesn't give you the backstory. So, new programs, new things that are coming up in technology, I'll talk to them about. But they will come to me if they need help. My husband really comes to me when he needs help. He says, "Oh, I love talking to my IT professional on the other side of the office." So just this morning, he is like, "My mouse is flashing. Why is it doing this?" So we needed to do a little bit of work on his computer to try to get that fixed. So yeah.
And do you have the same patience with family as you do with your clients?
Um,
Come on,
I
be
think
honest.
so. The big pause there. My husband knows better than to set me off. No, I'm just kidding. But he has patience asking me, um, because he's been in business, and so he had IT people at work that would help him. I have a very different approach in that I'm about teaching. So I don't come in and fix your problem and then walk away. And I don't do that for him this morning. Or I didn't do that for him this morning. I ran him through two processes to fix his problem, and then I said, okay, and now then you do this and this, and let him do it himself, because that's how I work. And I think that's one of the big differences between me and a, a, an IT professional that you're going to have in your workplace.
So do you have a secret teaching degree in your past?
I do not. And people
Oh,
ask me that all the time. Were you a teacher? And it's like,
yeah.
no, no, I wasn't, but I like to teach. I've taught even, back in the day, I've taught some crafting classes and
Okay.
that kind of thing too. So I've been teaching, but I probably shouldn't say this loud and proud on the internet, but kids are not my target market. So to me, I always thought, to be a teacher meant that you were dealing with children,
Right.
and so that's not really where I like to land, and probably why I would never have pursued any kind of a teaching degree or anything like that. So
Yeah. Well, we all have our strengths and talents. I don't think we can't poo-poo the things that
right,
we know we're not good at. I think we can celebrate the fact that we know. Sometimes it takes people forever to kind of figure out the good, the bad, and the ugly. And so
right.
you do like teaching, it's just a specific group. So I think that leads me into one of my first questions is if we go all the way back to the beginning, what really inspired you to step into this world of IT? And then what led you to helping seniors more so than we know you ruled out children, but how did you actually how did you actually get to the senior capacity, that
Sure.
type of a group?
Yeah. So I started just really loving computers way back in the 80s. And my husband had a computer when he first got married and he sold it. It was a Commodore 64. I was so mad
I was
because I
just
was
gonna
like,
say
I
that.
wanted that Commodore 64 and he sold it.
That's my first one. I
Yeah,
remember it too. Oh my gosh.
nice.
Well, and you'd have to go and we were taking those computer classes in high school that said, right, run, or that you would
Right,
and just different things, just basic commands. And oh man, that comment,
right.
I'm telling you, that was news. That was hot stuff.
It was. It was huge. So move forward to we got our first computer, and so so I'm a night person. My husband is a morning person. He got the computer set up for me because he was using a computer at work, which I was not, and I really didn't know anything about him. So he said, just play with it. You can't break it. Everything will be fine. And I said, okay, great. So I stayed up till the wee hours of the morning playing with the computer, and the next morning he gets up and he turns it on. He goes, Holly, what'd you do to the computer? And I said, what do you mean? He said, everything's yellow. And I said, I know, it's my favorite color. Isn't that cool? And he said, well, the problem is everything's yellow. Like the background is yellow, the text is yellow, and I can't even see any of the commands or anything on the buttons, so I can't see what I'm supposed to click. So he said, don't worry about it. I'll figure it out when I get to work. So, back then things were so much simpler. He could go online and on his computer at work and he could see, click this, the third button, then the right button, and he
Ah,
was able to get it changed back. So that was actually my first foray into computing, and I love to tell that story because I'm still here and I still love computers and I didn't get intimidated by that. And so I love to tell that story to let people know, um, don't be afraid, because there's always somebody that can come along and fix whatever problem you have with your computer. Um, so I love to tell that story. So I've just kind of been messing around with computers because I love to learn. I like to teach myself. So I taught myself how to build computers. So all the computers in my house I built from scratch, wing and a prayer, like, okay, we're going to turn it on and hopefully it starts. But it did. So I've done some hardware repair, but mostly I'm more of a software person than a hardware person. Um, but I like using all the software and services that a computer offers. So one day I had been helping some friends with their computer and I got a call from the wife of the couple and she said, I just wanted to let you know that my husband just gave somebody your name and phone number for a job. And I
oh,
said, I'm not looking for a job. And she said, I know that. That's why I thought maybe I should call you. So about an hour
yes.
later, I get a phone call from this person that I've never met. And she said, I just got your name from these people and I'm looking to hire someone. And they said that you would be a good fit because of your computer, your technology ability. And so then I met with her and I have a strong customer service background as well. So it turns out that that person was the director of the Northview Senior Citizens Program. And
Okay.
her name is Christine Freed. We are great friends. We worked together for 10 years at the Northview Senior Center and just just complemented each other perfectly. And while I was there, in addition to helping her, with all of my work responsibilities, there were people, the senior citizens there started asking me questions. They would stick their phone in my face and say, "Why is this doing this?" Or, "Here's my iPad, I can't get it to work." And so I started helping people a little bit at the senior center, and then I taught some classes based on needs at the senior center, like how to do registration and things like that. And then it kind of came into, do you want to start teaching some classes about technology? So that kind of started things. And then I would go into people's homes and help them. And then one other thing that I do is I actually have appointments at the senior center where I do a 30-minute appointment that people can come in. And so it's a lower rate than my regular rate because I can bring in multiple people at a time. So it's good for them. And a lot of times it's 30 minutes is all they need. I have a lot of people that can come in for that 30-minute appointment. We can solve their problem. And then I don't need to go to their house. And so it works out really well. So that's how I got started with the senior citizens. And then, so that was with Northview. And then about a year ago, I got an email from Rockford Public Schools, and they asked if I would like to teach for them as well. They were kind of looking around for new people to add to their service, or I'm sorry, to their teaching group because they're trying to really build up that program there in Rockford. And so they asked if I would teach there too. So now I teach there and do the 30-minute appointments there as well.
Okay, so you have a balance of both. You're still at the Northview Senior Center with those appointments and at Rockford.
Yes, I don't work for the
Okay.
Northeast Senior Center any longer.
Okay.
So Christine and I both kind of retired around the same time.
Okay.
And yeah, so I miss it. I miss being there with the people, but I still feel like I still have my fingers in the pie there because, I'm
Yeah.
there. I would say at least I'm probably teaching 6 classes a year there, and then I do the monthly appointments too, the 30-minute appointments.
Okay. So when you said that you got this call from her at the senior center over 10 years ago, I mean, your boys were already at that point graduated, right? About the time that you took that job. What were
Yeah,
you doing? What were you doing before that?
doing a lot of volunteer work. I'm very active in my church and a Bible study group called Bible Study Fellowship. So
Yeah.
I'm
Oh,
involved in
BSF.
both of those. Yeah. So both of those are things that I'm very involved in. I
Okay.
did work a couple times here and there at, it was Spectrum at the time, at Corbo
Mhm.
Health, just
Right.
doing kind of like some fill-in jobs. But yeah, so.
So you stayed home a little bit, sounds like, more so with your boys and raised your boys.
Mostly, yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, mostly I
Okay.
was a stay-at-home mom. That was my number one
Yep.
job goal. So yeah.
Yep, that's a great job. And so
Yes.
really when this person told you like the whole job thing outside of the house all of a sudden to work for the senior center would have been like, wait, I didn't even know that I was looking. And yet sometimes God creates this flow, right? There's these connections and you don't even know what you need or are going to do. And then it opens up this door and the next thing you know, you've got this niche and then you meet this wonderful person who's probably like your bestie or
Right?
all of
Yeah.
these things. That's how God works. And I love that you kind of went through those doors until, or if there had been a closed one, and really there hasn't been, and you've been able to, from there, continue to do some of your volunteer work. I love that BSF piece.
Hmm.
That's a major homework,
It
to
is.
and are you a leader or just a
I
participant?
am. Yep, I'm a group leader.
Now you're a
So
leader, so
yeah, so I was a group leader before. I took a lot of time
okay,
off. I took probably 10 years off BSF, and then I just went back. I went back last year, and then this year I'm back to being a group leader again. But
okay,
that the training, I was thinking about that this morning, that the training that I have through Bible Study Fellowship is, I mean, that helps me everywhere I go. One of the one of I'd say probably my biggest job at being a group leader is to make sure that everyone feels welcome, that everyone has an opportunity to share, and that to kind of level the playing field, really, that it doesn't matter what your level of Bible knowledge is. We're all equal when we're doing that study because God's speaking to us and teaching us. And I think that really has helped me even as I'm working with, especially with seniors, but because the thing is, they are that we're all equal. The thing is, whether you know a lot or you know a little, you have a problem, and that's why I'm here to help you. I don't do any kind of maintenance programs or anything like that. I help people when they have a need. So I get a call, they've got a need, and then I go and I help them to resolve that problem. So I think that I mean, everything that we do in life shapes us, right?
Absolutely.
And
Yep.
I think that Bible study fellowship is been a big part of that as well.
So do you have to, because that was wonderful for people who aren't familiar with Bible Study Fellowship. I'm glad that you mentioned that. I think it's fair to go back and maybe plug the Northview Senior Center a little bit too, because that's
Absolutely.
probably one of the best senior centers we have in West Michigan.
I agree.
And then tell us also, do you have to be a member to be part of your classes?
Yes. So at Northview Senior Center, which if you want to look it up, it's northviewseniors.org. That is their website, and you can get all the information there. Northview Senior Center is head and shoulders above all the other senior centers. Sorry to Rockford. They're building their program in Rockford. And so,
Okay, I didn't
so,
realize that. That's good. I didn't know that Rockford had a senior center too. Okay.
well, they don't have really a center, but excuse me, they are working on building their community program. So,
Okay.
so with Northview, you do need to be a member. It is currently it's $18 a year.
I know.
And
It's
I
just
know.
crazy.
And then that entitles you to be able to sign up for any of the programs. So in order to come to my class, you do need to be a member. But the benefits for all the other things that they offer are fabulous. So with Rockford, you don't need to be a member. Um, you can just sign up, and that is through their program that they offer. And everyone that's a Rockford resident, I'm gonna start coughing.
Yeah,
I'm
that's okay.
sorry.
Take a
Yeah,
minute.
we've both been sick this week. So um, you don't need to, there's no residency requirement, but with Rockford, they send out like the school catalog that you get that talks about all the school programs and the after school programs that they have. That's where all of their programming is listed. And then you can also find a copy of their brochure on their website, which is rockfordschools, I think, .org. And so you can go on there and it's listed, it's broken out as being part of the senior programming that
Okay.
they offer.
I know that Northview too, that senior center, I mean, when you look, they have the calendar of events always on there month by month. I've printed them
Mm-hmm.
for some of my clients, also in the past. They organize trips, whether it's overnights and day trips. They do meals there. They
Yeah.
have all kinds of activities or crafts and games and what have you. So I think it's a phenomenal place. But I also want to make sure that we're getting back to your work as well. So let me
Mhm.
ask you about that patience factor that I had earlier in the introduction, because sometimes when we're dealing with seniors, we need to have a special kind of patience, or maybe it's just a serving heart. But
Right.
what have you learned about people and maybe even about yourself through the work that you do with them?
Sure. So many people I talk to and tell them what I do, they say, "Oh, I need that for my parents." And I have the advantage that I'm not working with my parent. I did work with my father when he was still alive, and he was in Florida, and we would have to like go back and forth online. It was awful, and I probably wasn't as patient as I could have been. It's easier to be patient with someone that you're not related to. That is like the bottom line. Um, but I think really the way that my patience comes is because of that attitude of I'm here to help you learn. And so watching people who are absolutely clueless, sometimes frightened, sometimes feeling shame because they think that they did something wrong, and putting that aside, and then through the process that I use to teach people to to resolve their problem, it's empowering, it's comforting, it's encouraging to them, and that is a game changer. My number one goal, and I tell people this when I first start working with them, is my goal is to not touch your equipment. Don't hand me your phone. I'm not going to take your phone. I'm not going to take your iPad. I'm not going to take your laptop. I am going to sit next to you and I'm going to walk you through what you need to do in order to resolve this problem or whatever it is that you're trying to learn. So that is, I think, what really sets me apart. When I first started out, I had so many people that they would say, my grandson took my phone and made all kinds of changes and I don't know what they did and I don't know how to fix it. And that's really kind of what prompted me to have this attitude of learning instead of fixing, because it doesn't do anybody any good for you to walk in, mess up their device, help them, by making these changes. And I saw so many people who were frustrated, who were embarrassed to go back to their grandson and say, "Hey, I don't understand this."
Yeah.
And so I thought I need to approach this differently, and I want people to feel more comfortable with their technology. Um, just like me turning everything yellow, my husband was able to fix what I did. And at that point, he couldn't show me how to do it, but trust me, I know how to do it now.
Yeah.
And but it was empowering. It was empowering to hear you can't break this. It's okay. I can fix it, and that's why I do what I do today.
What are some of the, like, so when you're dealing with seniors, you probably have like the five most common things that they ask you all the time. Or are there, can you just kind of call out what are those things that they're always asking you to change?
Well, it kind of goes in streaks. And right now, the big streak is I'm getting a notice from Google that my storage is full. What do I do? And
Yep.
that is my number one thing right now, because storage is the big deal. And the second thing that I'm getting right now a lot is I have a device that's running Windows 10. Do I have to go buy a new computer? And so that transition, because support, in case you don't know, Windows 10 support ended the middle of this month in October. And so your Windows 10 device will still run, but they're not supporting any fixes, any security. Like if something really big comes along, they may fix it. But for the most part, they're not doing any updates, upgrades, anything like that. So a lot of people are really in a panic because that's my customer base, the people who don't want
Right.
to spend the money to buy a new computer. And so even now they're saying, do I have to buy a new computer? A lot of these computers, I can walk in and I can make a few little changes and then it will upgrade to Windows 11 when it wouldn't before. So that's been kind of fun and exciting for me, being
Yeah.
the nerd that I am. So that's it's a cyclical thing, and that's the cycle that I'm in right now. Is the Windows 10 to 11, and then the storage. Everybody's got the storage issue.
Yeah. I
So
think we've all gotten those messages.
yeah,
And you're like, oh no, I can't lose my pictures. Or
right,
you start deleting some, so you're making room for the new ones kind of thing. So
right.
I can see where would be really, those would affect the seniors in particular. And to think that they'd have to buy new computers, some of them are in fixed incomes. That
Exactly.
IT is kind of expensive. And so even when you think about IT, you're in a world where I would call more male driven. I don't know if that's fair to speak, but at least in my experience, I see mostly I tech IT men. So
Right.
it's refreshing to see you. Have you had any obstacles in that arena in the time frame that you've done IT?
I haven't really, because I haven't gotten into corporate IT. I think maybe
Okay.
if I went into the corporate world and wanted to be an IT person, I think that may cause me problems, but I worked for a woman and, the two of us, we just like took on the world and the senior center. So,
Yeah.
so there was no,
These took on the senior world.
we did exactly. So I don't really have that problem. Yeah, so I think it's probably just because I'm independent and just do what I do.
And I heard you say too, a lot of times if you were in the corporate world, a lot of times we those that might be in that corporate world feel empowered as they're climbing the ladder or working
Hmm.
on big projects. I already heard you use that word empower, and I think it comes from more of a serving heart where you feel like as you're teaching these seniors, that feels good for both of you. I mean, you're empowering them, but it must fill your bucket, so to speak.
Absolutely. I love, I did in the church world, there's the thing, the spiritual gifts assessment, and I took it once, and the woman that was helping me with it, this was years ago, and I said, I just can't figure out what my spiritual gift is. And she's like, are you kidding me? She goes, I know exactly what your spiritual gift is. I'm like, yeah. And she said, you have the gift of helps. And that is me. I mean, I'm the person in the grocery store. Hey, do you want me to help you reach that? Hey, have you tried this brand? Like annoying people. And, but that is, what I'm doing right now is just, I mean, it fills my cup because I get to help people. And I am loved by my customers. I can't tell you how many times I get a hug as I'm walking out the door. And
Yeah.
these are people that I have never met before. Um, I had a customer recently. When someone calls me, sometimes I know the person, but most of the time, especially lately, I don't know the person. And so even if I do, the first thing I do is I kind of ask some questions about what they need help with, and I do kind of a little assessment about any equipment I might need or any research I might need to do before I go. And so I had done that with this particular customer who I hadn't met. And so we had talked, I don't know, maybe 10, 15 minutes before, like the week before when I scheduled her appointment. And I got to her home, and I walked up the stairs, and she comes out of her house and she goes, "Can I give you a hug now? Because I feel like I already know you." And I was like, that's awesome. I mean, that's awesome to get the hug even before. And of course I got a hug after. And uh,
Yes.
and
Yeah.
so it's just, how can I not love what I do?
It's
So
empowering. It's rewarding. I
mhm.
said fill your bucket. I don't think you should limit yourself to a cup.
Yeah.
It's obviously comes from a servant's heart, and I think that's very special. And I would say too, when you're going through those assessments through your church to find your spiritual gift, it's always easier for somebody else to see it within
Mhm.
us than for
Yeah.
us to see ourselves. So that's
Yeah.
awesome. I hope I'm in the grocery store with you one day. Help me find
Right.
what I need. Can you share a different story? Because that one was a really good story too, but maybe something else that stands out. Maybe a client who surprised you or a breakthrough moment that reminded you why you do this work. So, I mean, that one was really wonderful, but I would love to hear another one if it comes to mind.
Sure. Um, when I first started doing in-home appointments, it was kind of weird. A lot of people use the term imposter syndrome, and I don't know that I was there, but I just felt a little insecure about what I was doing. And so I had this one client who uh, was an accountant, and I came and fixed a problem for her. She said, "Can you come over?" And I said, "Sure." I try to meet all my customers within a week after they call me, and usually less if I can. I try to be within the next few days, depending on how busy I am, but certainly within a week. And so I was able to go over and help her within a couple days and got her problem resolved. And she became a regular customer for me, which I don't have a lot of regular customers because I fixed their problem and then they don't need me anymore, which is fine. That's a good thing. But she had a recurring need because of her business. And so I went to her, and I think this was the second year that I went and helped her with her need. And she said, "Are you going to keep doing this?" And I said, "Yeah, I think so." And she said, "Because right now I am paying a tech company, the big box store tech company." And she said they're charging me an annual fee. And I called them to help me with this, and they said they couldn't be here for 2 weeks. And she
Oh,
said, "If you're going to continue in this business," she said, "I'm going to fire them and I'm going to hire you." And I said, "Oh, okay." And I'm good with that. I'm going to stay in the business. And she said, "Here's how much I was paying for them, and you are not charging enough." And so that was um, kind of shocking, but I went online and I looked to see what that other company was charging, and I was way undercharging. And so I raised my prices significantly, like over double from what I was charging because I was that far under where I should be. And and she just kept hiring me, like every year I was there to help her with the project that she needed me to do. I've had times where, especially because I deal with seniors, like, you charge that much, and I'm like, I do. And I was going through a time where, uh, again, I was kind of feeling like, maybe I need to lower my prices back down. Maybe I'm too high. And I had three customers in a row that said to me as I was leaving, after they paid me and I was leaving, they said, "You are worth every penny." Three people, same words, three in a row. And I was like, okay, that was my confirmation. No, I do not need to change my pricing. My pricing is good. People are getting value for the money that they're paying me. And I haven't had anybody that has said, I think you're overcharging, or I don't think that I got my value. I mean, everyone, like I said, I get hugs, I get compliments, I get thank you. I'm telling my friends, I'll call you again. I'm getting all those affirmations. So I would say the story with her, how she, again, a woman businesswoman that encouraged me to continue on with what I was doing and to do it with my head held high and be proud of the work that I was doing, which at that point in time I kind of needed. And so, yeah, that she was a game changer for me.
I think that's a great story to share, and I think it also goes back to maybe what we had said too, because I feel like there was that God thing that moved in that story a little bit because you
Mhm.
needed those affirmations, and
Yeah,
then you not only got one, you got three. I mean, you
yeah.
can't doubt that, right?
Right,
It was like,
right.
okay, word for word, three people out of the blue
Yeah.
just reaffirmed for you, and so you're able to do that. And I don't know, IT is kind of a tough business. I mean, we depend on it. Everybody depends on it
Hmm.
quite a bit. So you can't not show up for 2 weeks, especially in a
Right,
business environment, right?
right,
I mean, it's hard enough to have, on a personal basis, if your phone's not working, that's, most people's lifelines say we don't have landlines at home, we don't have
right.
backup. So yeah, it's nice that you have that quick turnaround for
Yeah.
all of your customers.
So last week, like I said, I had like just this horrible, horrible cold. And because of the senior population, who is my primary population, I am very, very careful about going into anyone's home if I'm sick. I just don't want to do that. They're more susceptible, although I'm a senior too. So really, so but I'm just very careful. And last week I had to cancel and reschedule all my appointments, and it broke my heart to do it. Like I was canceling people like 2 days before. I'm like, I just don't know if I can make it. And everybody was really understanding. And, I mean, again, I'm doing assessments. Like I've got a new customer that I haven't met yet, and I don't know exactly her issues that she's got. I do, from the assessment, um, with what she's got going on, I would be like, I need you here now. And she's
Yeah.
like, oh no, this has been going on for weeks. It's not a big deal. So,
Oh, I
that's the downside of being um, just me. And we haven't talked about that, but it's just me. I'm the business, and so it's not like I can have a partner and say, hey, can you pick up some extra work this week, because it's just me. But um, the people that know me, two of my customers from last week were repeat customers, so they know I want to do my absolute best, and they'll wait for me. Nobody said, I'm calling somebody else, so that's a nice thing. But
yeah, it's
yeah, but
limited.
it's hard.
I find it's very limiting to find people who can help in IT. So like when
Mm.
they find you, I mean, you're a number that they're keeping right next to the doctor,
Oh
right?
yeah.
Who are the people you need? And
Right.
maybe the financial advisor if I'm fortunate. But doctor, IT, maybe financial advisor.
Right. I always give out business cards at the end of my appointment, because I don't know where people got my name from sometimes.
Right.
And I had one recently that I went to hand her my business card. She goes, "Oh, I've already got one of your cards on my refrigerator." And I was like, "Okay." And the
Well,
nice thing is I was very intentional when I made my business cards. They are bright red and they have the word help in big letters. And so
yeah. For those
you're
of you that might be right there it is, help. I was just going to ask you, it's not in yellow, which you've already said is your favorite
right.
color, but this is definitely a standout red that I think screams IT.
Mm-hmm.
I could see that.
Yeah, and I've had a couple people that said, "Well, I've got your card. It says help, and I need help, so I'm calling." So the cards are working, and that's good. So yeah,
It's perfect. I do love that a lot. Have you ever been concerned? I know with seniors, maybe not so much, but have you ever had an eerie feeling going into somebody else's home? Because that could
yeah,
be dangerous. I mean, I would love to believe that our world is super safe everywhere. I think I'm being shown on a regular basis that we just have to keep our intuition maybe or our eyes and ears alert. I tell this to my kids all the time. I mean, just don't you can't trust the kindness of strangers as much as you once were could.
right, right.
And so how do you handle that going into their homes?
So that actually is a big part of why I started really slow. I really only helped people that I knew from the senior center,
Okay.
and one of the first calls I got from someone who got my name from the senior center but wasn't a member there, let me tell you, I was freaked out.
Yeah.
I'm like doing all my accountability measures that I can do, and so things really slowed down because of that.
Yeah.
So I kind of got to a point where I was getting referrals, and right now that is my big business, where my business is coming from, where I've helped one person and they tell their neighbor, and so their neighbor's calling me. And I always ask where people got my information from, but I do advertise in the Northview Seniors newsletter. I've got an ad that I have in there, and then of course my name's in there because of teaching classes and the 30-minute appointments. And then since I started teaching at Rockford, that's kind of opened up more opportunities for me as well. I have a few people that have started with the 30-minute appointments, and then they say, "Yeah, I need more help, so I want you to come to my house." So I think, honestly, I think my customers are worried too, because there's just so many wackos out there,
Mhm.
and
Mhm.
so I think we're all trying to be careful. Um, I do have some little accountability measures, I call them that. I don't know, security measures,
Sure.
that I have in place for myself. That's like between my husband and myself, just to kind of track me and keep me safe. I
Yeah.
did recently have uh, an appointment, and I just had this massive foreboding as I was going to it, and I pay attention to that. I
Mhm.
figure if I've got this feeling, I need to pay attention to it. So I immediately called a girlfriend of mine who is at work. We never call each other during the day. I mean, we might text, but we don't call. But she's got a bit of so she's got a law enforcement background. And so I picked up the phone. I called. I actually dialed from my car because I was driving. It was that urgent to me. And I just called, and she goes, "Hi," because she knew. I mean, like, for me to call her during the day. So
Yeah.
she goes, "Hi," and I said, "Hi, I need a check-in call at 3:15." Okay, and she hung up. And at 3:15, my phone rang, and I'm all good, and hung up. And that's all that was needed. But
Yeah.
but I knew she was there for me. I knew she wasn't going to ask me questions. She wasn't going to be like, "Why do I need to call?" And
Right.
because she knew exactly what I was doing.
Mhm.
And so I guess the thing is, you got to pay attention to your gut, but don't be stupid either. I mean,
Right.
you need to put things in place to make sure that you're safe. So,
I definitely agree with that. I'm glad to hear that too. So I was wondering too, because your work always helps. Well, I look at IT, it keeps us connected, right? With our
hmm
family, our friends, and even the world, the news, however much you want to hear. So
hmm
it's pretty powerful when you think about what we do with IT. So how does it feel to know your business is improving people's lives? in such a direct human way. I mean, when they're coming to you and they're like, Facebook's down and I've got to see my grandkids' pictures or whatever it is. I mean,
Right.
is there anything related to that that makes you feel good or realize that's why you have to be there in 24, 48 hours?
Right, right. I do see or feel the urgency of helping people right away because that's how I am with my tech. I mean, when my tech's down, I'm like freaking out. So I just assume that everyone else is the same, and so that's how I treat them. Um, I actually taught a class at Northview called Communication in the Digital Age. And the whole point of that class was to give them a broad stroke overview of all the different ways that we communicate with each other and just kind of talk about all those different platforms. And my end goal and my closing statement at the end of the class was um, it doesn't really matter what platform you use. You need to use the platform that the person you're trying to communicate with uses. So even if you need to learn Facebook and FaceTime and Messenger and all the different things, this is how we communicate now. I mean, we don't send letters. I can't get my kids to answer the phone, and they're in their 30s. Um, so it's important to I mean, if you want to stay connected with people, you need to learn. And I think people know that about me when they take my classes. I'm here to teach them, to keep them up to date and current, so that they do not become closed in. Because if you are not going to live electronically, you are so self-isolating,
That's true.
and that's just such a bad thing because I think for seniors that is it's easier to self-isolate than it is to not because we're losing our hearing, we're losing our eyesight, we're losing our friends, and it takes more effort to be able to connect with people than it did. You know, we're not working, so you're not meeting people that way. So, connection and using whatever it takes in order to stay connected with our friends and family is really important. And one of the things I do at the end of all of my classes is I have a survey sheet asking them, like basic questions about what they thought of the class. And then I have an open space. What do you want to learn about? And that is where my classes come from. I develop
Oh,
my own classes. I'm not teaching anybody else's stuff. And so I make up a class and I learn as I go. And so I teach classes on what people want to learn, which is fabulous. It's great. I love it. I'm teaching a class
exciting.
tomorrow about um, terminology, uh, uh, computer, terminology because people want to know. And so the half of the class is about AI. And well, actually, a quarter of it is about AI, a quarter of it is about the cloud, and then the rest is kind of a question and answer time where I've got some terms ready I can describe
Okay.
and teach. But um, people are confused by that, and you can Google it all day long, but I've taken enough classes that I have a better understanding of fundamentals than, say somebody who's going to Google that. So I taught that class at Northview uh, a few weeks ago, and I'm teaching it at Rockford tomorrow. Honestly, it's one of my favorite classes that I have taught, because it's kind of like computer 101 in 30 minutes. And it's
That's what I
great.
was
So
thinking. Yeah.
usually I allow questions, but for this class I said, okay, we're not having any questions until I'm done. I have a slide that says question time, and but we're not having any questioning until then because it's, a lot of it builds. And so don't ask the question now because it's going to get answered later. And so I got to the end of my cloud computing section and I said, and I had been talking and pointing at slides and doing nothing, just me talking for 15 minutes. And I got to the end and I looked out at the group and I said, okay, who's lost? and not a single person raised their hand. And I
Oh,
practically jumped up and down. I was
yes.
so excited. But that, I mean, this
Great
is
job.
what people don't understand, and they want to know. So, I just I love that.
Yeah.
That's what I love to do,
Was it a
and that
packed
class was
class?
completely born out of my survey. So I'm sorry, what was your
Was it a
question?
packed class?
Yes, it was at Northview. It was the
Yeah.
Rockford's coming up a little bit slower, and part of that is because they need to build the name for themselves, and they know that. The guy I'm working with, Jason, he's in charge of the Rockford Senior Program, and
Okay.
so he's very aware, and I've made some suggestions. I worked at North Future 10 years, and I told him that, and so he knows I've got a lot of experience and things that they could do to improve their
Yep.
user, whatever, get more people to come. Um, so, but
Hey,
but some of it is just the structure of the program, and his hands are tied on some certain things. Christine and I, that there was obviously the program was in place when I started there, but we changed a lot of things while I was there. And Christine and I worked on that tirelessly, making things user friendly with registration and just the way things are done. And it is a little bit confusing if you have any involvement with the Northview Senior Center. The person that they hired to replace her is named Chris. So we went from Christine to Chris. And Chris is doing a fabulous job. She really is, and they're making some really good changes that I'm happy to see, bringing things up in technology as well. So that's a good thing.
how old do you have to be a senior at North?
There's no age requirement for either
Ooh,
programs. I know. Join today.
okay.
Join
Okay,
today. It's a
right?
great
I mean,
program. So many fun things they do. I mean, I loved working there because I got to do a lot of the things. And there was not much that was offered there that I wasn't interested in. So, and the one is bingo. I'm just not a bingo girl.
well,
But
sure.
but
I
other
would,
than that,
I mean, and when you do a good program like that, just like you get referrals in business, people talk and it builds all by itself,
yeah,
right?
it
So,
does. Yeah.
so finally here with one of the last questions, I'm going to kind of make it twofold, I guess, a little bit is, what do you hope other women, maybe even what your kids might see, or that you can, these people would take away from what you've built in your business and in your life in general? Maybe it's not business related, but then as you wrap up that question, then I also want to hear how can people reach you? What website maybe do you have or contact information? So again, finally, what do you hope other women or even your own children take away from what you've built your business and in your life, and then plug your business?
Sure. Um, I would say that hard work always pays off. It always pays off. Doing hard work, whether you get the reward right away or you get the reward later on, um, hard work always will pay off. Um, I think honesty and integrity and treating people the way you want to be treated is the other piece, and that is very, very important to me. Um, and that's why I'm getting referrals from people I don't know. Because as you know, I'm sure in your business, a trusted referral is worth gold.
Mhm.
And so I think um, build your network, but not necessarily a business network. I've had a couple of opportunities, this with you, and then one other business opportunity where with Savvy Seniors that I was a panelist, and I didn't get work from the people that were there, but I did make a business contact that has been a very positive and impactful situation for me. So business networking is good, but your people networking where your customers are. To me, because I'm a customer based business, that's what I do. So being able to admit that you're wrong, that was or that you don't know, I think is also important. That was actually one of my survey comments that someone wrote on one of my surveys. She said, I don't know. And I don't know it all. And I don't pretend to know it all. And so I think that's important too. I think that honesty and humility is very important.
Sure,
So,
absolutely. There's no way
um,
we can know it all. And it doesn't matter what industry we're in,
no,
mistakes happen. We're going to do that. But what you just said is being able to own up to that mistake, correct it even, learn and grow
right,
from there, right? So
right,
that's
right.
great information for our listeners.
And if I don't know, I find out. My husband laughs at me. He's like, "You will spend hours figuring something out." But that's how I know what I know. I have taken some computer classes that, gave me a good base of knowledge, but I don't have a degree in IT. Um, and everything that I learned, not everything, but a lot of what I learned is obsolete. I mean, I took those classes years ago. So if you talk to an IT professional and they say they know the answers to all the questions, they're lying, and I wouldn't trust them.
Fair enough.
So,
Fair enough. Okay, and how can people reach you?
excuse me. So my phone number, I just use my personal contact information. My phone number is 616-308-8249. You can call, and then please leave a message because I don't answer all the time. So you can call me or you can email me. My email address is holly.jean.young@gmail.com. And it's HOLLY.JEAN.YOUNG@gmail.com.
Perfect. Okay, so now we're
So
going to go
now
to what
I
yeah,
need to
take a
drink
drink.
first.
Keep listening. Just drink. So I love this part as we get ready to wrap up our podcast today. But the lightning round is always kind of fun because it shows even more personality. And
Okay.
it's super easy. Just a couple of quick questions. They're not meant to stump you. If they do, we'll move on. But it's
Okay.
just the first thing that comes to mind off the cuff. So what is a favorite piece of technology you can't live without?
Who currently it would be on my smart devices. So my Alexa speakers, my smart lights. I love lights. I love being able to turn everything on with a word.
Smart lights. I have not like, come
Yeah.
on, y'all know that the clapper, the
Yep.
commercial
Exactly.
from
Yep. I have my whole house isn't wired that way, but I have a like on my living room light. So the light by my spot on the couch, I've got some decorative lighting, all that stuff. I just say all lights on and they all come on.
and
It's
they all
wonderful.
come
I love
on.
it.
I love that. I love the memory it brought back to me too. What's one app or tool you always recommend to your clients?
Cloud storage. No matter where you're getting it from, you need to have some cloud storage somewhere.
Okay, Mac or PC?
PC.
Yeah, PC. I cannot do a Mac to
And
save my
Android
life.
phones too. No.
Yes, Android phone. Thank you.
Yeah.
We should have talked about this because I want to
Well,
let all
people
my
ask me, what should I have? Should I have, especially because I get this, my kids want me to get a new phone. They want me
right.
to get a different phone than what I have. They say, which phone is better? And my answer is the one you know how to use. So
Thank you.
it doesn't matter which one it is. It's got to be the one that you know how to use.
I think it's like Generation X, like right where I fit for sure. And it's just like we have enough computer skills that we can kind of stay, active in the environment and not get so overwhelmed. But at the same time, I'm like, oh no, I do not want to do all the apples. I mean,
Right?
everybody seems to have one. I'm like, no, I'm happy with my Android. I was a BlackBerry. I loved my BlackBerry and then
Yeah.
moved to Android. So how about a most inspiring woman that you can think of? Who is a woman that's inspiring to you? It could be famous, I suppose, but even in our own lives, we can make them famous.
I I would say, and if she watches this, she'll probably be embarrassed, but I would probably say my boss at the senior center,
Okay.
Christine Freet. Um, she made working with her changed me. I believe it or not, am actually very shy and introverted, which doesn't come off that I know.
I'm
Um,
shaking my head no.
I know, but like to put me in like a group with small talk is just it is so painful for me. But she is the master of that. She is the master of memorizing names and just like connecting with people. And Um, there are days that I'm like, I walk into a room and I'm like, okay, I'm gonna channel Christine today because I just like I need that. I just need that. Like it will be okay. And just go ahead and do it. And if you say something stupid, walk out. Hopefully they don't remember you. So
There you go.
so yeah.
There you go. So are you closer to 5 more years in business or 10?
Well, in 10, I will be the full-fledged senior. So I'll need somebody helping me. I'm going to say probably 5, but I have already been in business doing this longer than I expected. I mean, I probably have twice as many customers this year as I did last year, which I did
Wow,
not see coming.
that's growth.
So I guess as long as people still need me and I can still help, then then I'll be in business.
Perfect. I love that answer. And your favorite way to disconnect from the world?
Um,
I guess your favorite vacation spot. I don't know.
right. Well, and it's kind of the same, and it's in my backyard, and it's in the summertime. I have a little uh we're not supposed to have pools in our neighborhood, so hopefully my neighbors aren't watching this. I have a little kiddie pool that I inflate, and I
Sure.
have water, and I just float, and that is I've got like my whole little float space,
Yeah,
and I've got all these tropical plants around it, and I have my smart speaker out there and my smart lights that I can be floating in the water and say, Alexa, turn on the lights, and so that is where I go to relax and calm down. So wintertime, I'm in my happy space right now. I do crafting and stuff, so I've got sewing and crafts and stuff down here as well as my office. So
that's
that's
awesome.
where I've
So
been.
when you're out in your backyard oasis, does Alexa also bring you a drink?
No, but
Water,
no,
whatever
but
you like.
I can have her make an announcement in the house and ask my husband to do it for me.
Oh, so Alexa, we've got legs.
Yes.
I love that. So there's always a way. There's always a
There's
way.
always a way. Yeah.
All right. Well, Holly, thank you for sharing your story and your insight and for the work that you do to help people feel connected and confident in an increasingly digital world.
Yeah.
For everyone listening, be sure to follow Women in the Businesses They Own on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and wherever you might listen. And always remember, she came, she spoke, she inspired. And we'll see you next time.